My name's Johan de Lange, and I'm a junior associate at Schoeman Law. Today we'll be discussing interdicts, and specifically understanding interdicts as a legal remedy. Now we have to understand that interdicts is a very powerful legal remedy, and it's usually sought to enforce or protect your rights. So let's divide the intricacies of this legal tool in order for us to understand it a little bit better. What we first have to understand is that there are two main types of interdicts. There's a prohibitory interdict, which prevents certain actions, and then there's a mandatory interdict, which compels specific actions. For instance, a prohibitory interdict could be used in an example where you have a builder who's building on your neighboring property, but then builds over the building line onto your property. You could then apply for an interdict in order to stop the construction and to dispute whether or not it's your land or not, and whether or not they've obviously gone over the building line. This would then allow you the opportunity to stop all building activities until the dispute is resolved. Whereas a mandatory interdict would essentially compel someone to do something. As an example, it would be where a public official is not fulfilling their duties. You would then apply for a mandamus, which is a mandatory interdict, in order to force that public official to fulfill their duty and to do what they are required to do. Now, interdicts can also be temporary or final. This depends on the situation. A final interdict definitively enforces rights, whereas an interim interdict provides you with temporary relief until a final decision is made. Now, there's certain prerequisites that we must discuss, which you will be required to prove before you are able to even obtain an interim interdict. You would have to show the court that there is a prima facie right. This means establishing a plausible right based on initial evidence. You, as the applicant, doesn't need to prove that your case is definitive, but you must just show that you have a high chance of likelihood of success. You must then also show that there's a well-grounded apprehension of irreparable harm. Essentially, this means that the harm must be difficult or almost impossible to rectify if the interdict is not granted. And this could include a financial loss or interference with your rights. You must then also show the balance of convenience, being that the court will weigh the prejudice against you as the applicant if the interdict isn't granted, and against the prejudice to the respondent if it is. If there are strong prospects of success, it can usually tip the balance. The last thing that you will need to show the court is the absence of any other satisfactory remedy. The applicant must always show that there is no other adequate remedy available, and that the interdict is the only way to achieve the desired outcome. Now, we'd have to look at some of the requirements for obtaining a final interdict, which are very similar to the requirements that are needed to obtain an interim interdict. It's a clear right. You as the applicant must demonstrate a clear right, both in law and in fact, and with evidence to support it. There must be injury actually committed or a reasonable apprehension of injury to be committed. There must be evidence of interference with the right, either already occurring or reasonably expected to occur in the future. There must be absence of satisfactory remedy. Similar to the interim interdicts, the applicant must show that there is no other suitable remedy that exists. If you can show all of these things, a court is likely to provide you with either an interim or a final interdict, depending on which remedy you are seeking. So in conclusion, it's shown that interdicts are a potential legal remedy, which can be granted by the courts where rights are at stake and you have satisfied all the requirements. Whether you're seeking to prevent harm or compel action, interdicts can play a crucial role in upholding justice. I thank you for listening to this video and hope to see you soon.